Bank Fury. I'm Roy J. Akers with you with Bob Francis of GoFullThrottle.net. And we are going to kick it off tonight as we are going to be talking fantasy for NASCAR this weekend. Watkins Glen has their final road course of the regular season for NASCAR drivers. And is it going to be the usual suspects, Bob?
I think it is, Roy. I think we all expect SVG. We expect Chase Elliott to be up there. I certainly have, in reviewing the data, Chase Elliott is holding the P1 spot in our pre-qualifying recommendations out of our fantasy racing prediction model. But you can never count out a Michael McDowell. And I know we've been saying this all season long, Roy, but is this the race that Ty Gibbs breaks through? He's very good on road courses. This might be the week. We'll see.
Yeah, it very well could be. Taking a look at this race last year, I really like this. This was a classic NASCAR race on a road course where SVG was winning late in the race when Chris Buescher went ahead and gave him a legal tap, a nice nudge. Pushed him out of the way just enough, and it was kind of like a pick and roll, a bump
Right.
and run. And so that's what he did on that particular race. But when you take a look at things, Bob, there were nine different leaders in that race. So it wasn't like it was just Boucher and SVG in the lead in this race. There were a total of, once again, nine different drivers that were in it. It was a very exciting race. And I have my picks for the race. I'll give you kind of my logic for them. And we will go ahead and post those so you can see the picture on there. No surprise, SVG has to be one of your picks. If he's not, you're just giving points up to the field. Also, William Byron, I have him in there. The main reason why I have him in there is he does okay on road courses, but I have three. He has three starts left with me, so that's probably my loosest pick that I have. Michael McDowell, as you alluded to, he's a pick for me. He won in Indy 2 years ago to get into the playoffs. He has a pretty good record, a very good record, I should say, at Watkins Glen. You have Boucher in there. And like you, I have in my garage right now, I have Ty Gibbs. I
hmm
think Gibbs very well could break out, but my big surprise that really shouldn't be is Carson Hocevar. He finished third in this race last year. When I spoke to him at two different races this year, at both Charlotte and at MIS back in late May, early June, when he says, I don't know how well I'm going to do at Sonoma, but he says, I'm really looking forward to Watkins Glen. He says, I think I have something for everybody there. And hopefully he doesn't have Wreck-It Ralph because he's making a lot of drivers mad. But so I gave you my pick, some of my logic. Tell you what, we're going to save yours for the flip side of a 30. And we got a Watkins Glen promotion. We're going to go ahead and play that for you. Bob will give you his picks and the reasons why next. And we'll tell you about some of the other dark horses that's coming up.
This August, a Full Throttle Festival comes to upstate New York. Camp under the stars, then witness the brightest stars of NASCAR battle for a crucial playoff spot. NASCAR weekend at Watkins Glen. Get your tickets now at theglen.com.
Okay.
Bob, well, you got my picks. You got my reasoning. Of course, this is our rough draft picks on Friday. Sunday, you are going to go ahead and give us your final picks based upon how qualifying and practice goes. But that'll be Sunday morning. We'll talk more about that at the end of the show so people know where they
Right.
can find that data. But go ahead. What are your picks?
Yeah, so the initial picks we do every Friday based on the history, and we do have a lot of history here. There's 19 races of data available, and SVG, of course, you can't, as you mentioned, Roy, don't leave points on the table. If you're playing NASCAR fantasy, it's a road course. SVG should be in your starting lineup. We also are playing Chase Elliott this week. Now, I am out of starts. I do not have available Kyle Larson or William Byron. Those guys are off the table because I've already had 10 starts with them. But our model accommodates for that and makes that prediction knowing what drivers are available. So Chase Elliott is number 2 slot. Of course, we have last year's winner, Chris Buescher, in the 3 slot. Feel very confident about that. And then Michael McDowell, always a threat on road courses. And then we've got Christopher Bell as our fifth driver with Ty Gibbs, like you, Roy, in the garage, wondering if this might be the week to pull Gibbs out of the garage, and we'll see how the young driver does.
And there you have it. Now, what Bob talked about just a moment ago is that your supercomputer, your AI model, and you do all the programming in on that. But with the AI model, it does take in account what I do. I have a very good human factor, but I'm only at like 82, 83%. You're at like 99. And your computer, one of the reasons is that your computer can say, you know what, I've got two drivers, but he's going to be at Richmond, he's going to be at Indy, this guy isn't. Your computer can actually pick the whole season beforehand. Is that one of the things that happened this year?
That's right. We have an algorithm that is designed specifically to make recommendations for the road courses. So it looks at all drivers and their history on road courses, and especially Watkins Glen. So our AI model already knew three of the five recommendations. Now, of course, this might all change tomorrow morning
Yeah.
after practice and qualifying. So the way our system works is it'll recalculate after it'll ingest that practice and qualifying data, and then on Sundays we'll issue a change, a new lineup if there are changes based on practice and qualifying. But that's that way that algorithm works, Roy. It looks at who are we going to play on these well-known road courses? What kind of data do we have to feed the model to make those predictions? And then we run an algorithm on top of that, which is, well, what drivers do we have still left here at the end of the regular season that don't have already had 10 starts? So I'm sure Kyle Larson and potentially Byron both may have been in the lineup had they been available, but the model accounts for that, and that's why we see a McDowell, a Bell, and a Gibbs in the garage.
Yeah. And so you have it. And so are fans out there going, you know what? I want to play fantasy. I'd like to know a little bit more about it. Before we have Bob go ahead and give out, where we can find you on Sunday and those algorithms and all that kind of thing for those of you who actually try to do parlays with, DraftKings and all the other different Uncle Bud and all those people that do that. In my garage, I purposely left Kyle Larson 5 years ago. There's no chance I would have left him in the garage for any road courses. Of course, NASCAR 2020. What do they have? Two or three races on the road course. They didn't have to use in the Roval yet, I don't think. So but now Larson's on the bench for me. He does have two starts. He's purposely on the bench. Could I bring him up if I see it on Sunday? Because I'm going to tell you something that happened to me last week, and I lost 40 points to you just based because I didn't listen to you, and I'm okay with that. But it did cost me 40 points because I'm a stubborn dude. But also, I left on the bench on purpose AJ Allmendinger. He could very easily, to me, he's kind of like he's the seventh man, not the sixth man like Ty Gibbs is. He's the seventh guy. He very easily, depending on qualifying, could find his way in my lineup. But I just teased you. Here's who I did not put in my lineup based upon your Sunday predictions. I left out Brad Keselowski on I just said, you know what, I'm not feeling it this week. I think he could do well, but I felt last week, I felt kind of like I was dancing on a Jello dance floor because there were just a few guys I just wasn't sure about, and I lost that. I mean, that's the way it goes. And then, of course, William Byron, I had him on half my fantasy teams. I have 5 teams. That's what NASCAR allows you to have, everybody, the big 5-0. You got 5. And I had him on 3 teams. I didn't have him on 2. And I was like, with this whole gas situation, Sunoco fuel, to those of you at home, I wasn't really sure. And so on 3 teams, I'm like, oh my gosh, is he going to run out or not? And so that's kind of how that went. And also Tyler Reddick, Tyler Reddick, that was a real problem. I had him on some teams too. So I finished with like 178 points on the team that I compete on with you with. I use the same team, irregardless. I don't like choose and try to dance around it. I go right to the same team, to be fair with you and our audience. And that's the one I post every week. So enough on me. I would say that, do you have any picks that you think you might go to, or the AI model might change on, before we wrap this one up?
Yes, keep an eye on Kyle Busch because if you look at the 19 race history, Busch actually has the second highest driver rating of all drivers in the historical database for Watkins Glen. So is Busch going to be in there? I know he's racing the truck race on Friday. He's getting some laps in. That's a possible. Of course, you mentioned AJ Allmendinger, always a threat in road courses, but I just haven't seen the Colleague team really be there from a pit row strategy standpoint. I think they made some calls that hurt AJ in some races this year. So, but that AJ is definitely one. And I guess the third one, Roy, would be an Austin Cindric. When Cindric was in the Xfinity Series, he was unbeatable on road courses, or it was him and AJ Allmendinger battling it out in the Xfinity Series. So it would not surprise me to see an Austin Cindric do really well in practice and qualifying, and then have him elevated into our 5 picks, or maybe the garage, if he happens to throw down a great lap tomorrow.
And I think those are all solid suggestions made by Bob. We are going to take another real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to give you our race predictions, the race winner for this weekend, and any perhaps surprise between Watkins Glen, Richmond, and Daytona. So that's coming up next.
This August, a full-throttle festival comes to upstate New York. Camp under the stars, then witness the brightest stars of NASCAR battle for a crucial playoff spot. NASCAR weekend at Watkins Glen. Get your tickets now at theglen.com.
When I want to go behind the scenes coverage of NASCAR, I go inside the Cup Garage on YouTube and all social media channels.
We have our race winner, at least we think we do. I've been right several times this year, strangely enough, but and I don't need a computer to do that, Bob. but anyway, what do you have for a race winner this week?
Well, all the data says right now, Chase Elliott has the highest driver rating at a 107. Has been very strong the last few weeks. I think that slump is over. Elliott's back in, and he's competing up front. I think Hendrick Motorsports has always had a pretty good handle on the car setup for Watkins Glen. So right now on Friday, all indicators are Chase Elliott to win. We'll see if that changes after practice and qualifying.
You have a dark horse?
Kyle Busch. A driver who's had incredibly bad luck all season long. If there is ever a driver that has the experience and the credibility and the driver rating, but has had horrible luck all season, incident after incident, boy, would this be the week for that to turn around for RCR and Kyle Busch.
And my race pick for the winner this week is Chris Buescher of RFK Racing. He doesn't have to win, but it would just put the exclamation point and put this all behind him. One of the things that we have seen with drivers such as Chase Elliott, I've talked about how I talked to him in Charlotte, and he's like, I'm third in points, like he was at the time. He said, winning is, he says, yeah, I want to win, but I'm third in points. But after he won, do you think that really the genie was out of the bottle? Because you said, hey, he could go on a run right now, and he's in number one in the prediction model for this race. Also, Bubba Wallace, he was so happy last week, winning that race in Iowa. He was not only happy when he won the race at Indy, but when he got to Iowa, I mean, literally, you could see that he's kind of a different racer at this particular point. And he did talk about changing setups. And in his car, matter of fact, Dana Hazelhoon, who's one of our reps from Chevrolet, she's going to set me up with a story with one of the Chevy teams, and we're going to be talking about perhaps a team playing with house money that's already qualified, or the other way around, the team that's going to change their strategy. I gave her 2 story ideas. I said, I don't care which one bites. We're going to do a story on one of them. How about that? And
Fantastic.
She said, yeah, and we're having it in our show too, just like we had Chris Lawson in the show earlier this week, the crew chief for Mr. Gilliland, Todd Gilliland. My dark horse for this particular race, to me, I think Austin Cindric, another Ford driver. He's somebody who very easily, he's just sneaky good.
Mhm.
If you expect, he's one of those guys. If you expect him to do well, it often doesn't work out for him. But when he's just sneaky good. Talladega, anybody pick him? No. So I don't know. He's a dark horse for me. But like you say, we've all we've all got our picks and all that. A final thing before we wrap it up tonight. We got to find out for all of our fans out there that want to find out more about Bob Francis, GoFullThrottle.net. I just gave you that, but on Sunday, where can people find your updated picks?
That's right. For those of you that are on social media, the X account is Bob Full Throttle. That's the X channel for Go Full Throttle. And that is where on Sunday mornings we post our updated race prediction model results. So Saturday, our models will ingest all the data from practice and qualifying. They will rerun all the race scenarios, and we exclusively post that on our X account, Bob Full Throttle on X on Sunday mornings, usually about 2 hours before the green flag. So you have plenty of time to reset your team if you need to. And always pay attention to what lap is stage 2 ending. So if you do need to pull somebody out of the garage, for Roy and I, that would be Ty Gibbs. That you make that change prior to the end of the second stage per the rules of NASCAR Fantasy Live. There you go,
Yeah,
Roy.
yeah. And also, for those of you who go, I don't know, if I got 5 teams, it's going to take me 15 minutes. No, it doesn't. I did all 5 teams in literally a minute and a half. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, so I'm saying that you can do that. For Bob Francis of GoFullThrottle.net, I'm Roy J. Akers of SkyViewSports.net. I want to thank you for tuning in to High Bank Fury. And until next time, tell you what, take home the checkered flag.
And then, what a set of corners to close it in. Didn't allow the 16 to get to him on board with Buescher.
This was the winning move. Mistake from Van Gisbergen. Buescher pounces, gives him a little nudge, unsettles the 16, and says, I'm coming through to get this victory.